Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is another very important episode that I need to give some background before I start some of the topics about fan subbing. Okay, in today's episode, we're going to cover something called the rules, or the code, if you will, the unwritten rules, as some refer to it, of fan subbing. Okay. So before we begin, do down below, click like and click subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Make sure that whenever I get put out new episodes, that you'll get notification when those new episodes come out. Because otherwise, YouTube may never get back to actually recommending the episode to you, and of course, you'll never get to it. All right. And if you do happen to miss an episode, or you do want to get more into fan subbing and that kind of stuff and whatnot, I do also have a list that I keep by myself and keep up to date outside of YouTube, because obviously YouTube doesn't always recommend my stuff, that you can look up, and it is filed in a sort of a book-like order, okay, so that you can kind of go through it, and for example, today's episode is about fan subbing. You can see all the other episodes about the evolution of fan subbing and that kind of stuff, how to do fan subbing, an example of fan subbing. I all have all in there, and then you can look that up, okay? So do check that link below. Alright, so today's episode, I'm going to get into what is known as the rules, or the code of fan subbing, if you will, okay? Now, this sort of code is not really as something that's written down or put into an FAQ or anything, and a lot of modern fan subbers, especially digi-subbers, they want to try to follow the spirit of it, but maybe not know the origin, and don't even abide by any of the rules at all. And maybe that's another episode, and that we'll get into how the corruption, shall we say, of fan subbing is has gotten to that. Okay. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about the origin of the code, if you will, and basically what some of the elements of this code are. Okay, so shall we begin? Is that okay? So in the early days, when we first began subbing, one of the things that we really had, an uneasy, maybe sort of a slight, issue that we may have is, obviously, a lot of cause what we're doing is, when we make these fan subs, we're not exactly doing things with the permission of the original Japanese manufacturers or anything like that. We're also talking about people that are trying to license a lot of these titles in the US, Anmiego, A-Division, and the list goes on, right? So we want to sort of still do fan subbing, in the sense that we want to help the anime community grow. We want to basically supply titles and that kind of stuff that will show that anime can go and be for a lot of different genres and different topics and things that aren't covered, and maybe hopefully someone had missed or something, and then maybe when the commercial companies can see that certain titles, maybe like for example Utena or something, do have a following, and maybe someone should maybe license that and get that out. Okay, that was sort of the initial sort of intention that we had. And and so being labeled as a fan subber, we wanted to be somewhat not would say protected, but we wanted to give the notion that we are doing this as a fan. We're not trying to be profit, trying to make profit on it. We're not trying to basically I guess what the real thing is we want to try to sort of at this time, although we didn't know it, we're trying to justify fair use when we're really not. Okay, because as I've mentioned in a previous episode, we aren't, there's probably a lot of things that would be probably wrong with doing fan subbing, okay? If it was, if you look at to the letter, okay? And what I mean by this is that, well, obviously, we're not getting any permission from the original Japanese people to do this, okay? But we figure, well, the number of us, okay, which is very few, probably less than 100. And when you're looking at tens of thousands of copies of something being sold in Japan for a particular anime, and you've got maybe less than 50 people in the in worldwide, probably, or maybe even 100 people worldwide that would that even wanted the same video. That I guess the Japanese consider that, well, okay, that's a small percentage. We're not going to worry about it so much, okay? And so they probably let that slide if that number is that low, right? Likewise, in North America, obviously, if a company licenses a particular product, obviously it'd be their best interest not for you to distribute and have fan subs of it all, because obviously that would be cutting into their profits, right? So, we had the fan subbers because of the fact that we had to do a lot of our communications by mail and have to do a lot of things like phone calls, okay? And we were very personable. We saw these people at conventions, so our relationship between the fan subbers and the commercial companies were fairly good. Or we were on very on amicable terms, and we kind of understood what the commercial companies were trying to do, and we were very supportive of them. Okay, so we had this sort of understanding. Okay, that's probably another good way to that. Hey, we're trying to fan sub a lot of the new stuff and new titles that are coming out and things of particular interest. But we understand that if you decide to license this and make an announcement that you are licensing this, then okay, yeah, we will back off and not do any more fan subs and not try to release another product, okay, that will conflict with your sales. Because obviously, we want these people to succeed too, because they are in many ways anime fans too, but they're really they're going to try to release a product that's going to be a good quality. They're going to have better than quality than when you can get as a fan subber. Okay, let's put it that way. And maybe in the future also they'll be able to English dub stuff too, which will reach a larger audience than just getting into subtitle. Because I get it, some people just don't like English subtitles; they'd much rather it dubbed. Got it, fine. In the early days, dubs weren't all that good, but it's all right. They got better. But yes, that's all part of making the market bigger. Okay, so there's this sort of, shall we say, unwritten rules that sort of came out of this understanding between us and fans. Now, again, not every club had it. I mean, I personally met Robert Woodhead, and we went down to San Diego Comic-Con. We had a sort of a meeting, shall we say. It's impromptu, more or less. We sort of met each other, and we sort of knew who each other was, so we just kind of stopped and talked to each other. That was probably about the formality of the meeting. But basically, I was with Robert Gutierrez of Ranma Project, okay, and we were walking through the main foyers of the San Diego Comic-Con, and then we ran across Robert Woodhead, and everyone who sort of knew who he was. We stopped and we decided to start. We had a chat. At this time, we also had Clinton Barty, who happens to be the person who wrote and helped me construct the software for the Amiga version of for Fansubbing. Okay, Panimator. And finally, on the far right, the person in yellow is Lee Orek, who's in charge of the anime programming at San Diego Comic-Con this year. Big influential figure in the California anime scene. There to discuss different things, and again, he's very well oriented with a lot of the clubs in California. And in this sort of impromptu meeting, we talked about many different things, including future releases, what we plan to do, and even a lot of non-anime things we also talked about. And so there was really kind of sort of that sort of casualness that we were able to, and openness that we had with the people in the industry. That we were able to have this sort of great relationship. Okay, so that's why we sort of had this penance of these unwritten rules. The other thing is that we wanted to do is that we wanted to have this sort of notion that if you're being referred to as a fan subber, we are trying to kind of avoid any legal problems. If you kind of pop up and start doing fan subs, and you just kind of realize, oh, okay, no, we're fan subbing this. We're just kind of if you are going to license this, then we will kind of follow the rules and be part of the and we'll remove the stuff out of distribution if that is the case, right? And so these sort of set of rules sort of came up and basically were basically followed by most times. Again, you get some people who deviate out of this, right? There are people that are known, for example, like S. Baldrick or whatever, who made fan subs and then intentionally use them to sell them and try to make money off of them. And of course, you don't want that, because again, we already are in a pretty kind of gray area as it is. To push it over the limit is more or less the final straw, because you think about it, there's the only ground that we had was basically fair use, right? And you look at the 4 tenets of fair use. Number 1, are you being transformative? Are you trying to educate or do something with the use of the original copyrighted material? And you could probably score a point for that one, okay? Because you are providing an English translation to a Japanese product, which no other English thing probably exists at that time. Okay, you might score 1 point there. Okay, so the second tenet is basically the nature of the copyrighted work. And again, you would probably have a bit of an issue, because it's just they favor things that are non-fiction, and obviously if you copy something that's fictional, then why the hell are you copying something that's fictional? And of course, you're not changing the story at all, so you're just copying the story route. So you're probably going to get an X on that one. So you're probably going to lose that one, right? The third point is going to be how much of the original copyright material you well, we're copying all of it, so that's probably a bad strike there. So that's an X there too, right? So you can guess we're not doing very well. And then the last one is basically, what effect to the potential market, or how much loss and revenue is this fan sub thing going to cost you? And of course, this of course is probably the most important thing. That's probably the thing that we were most concerned about, was that here we are, we are only fan subbing this because it doesn't exist in our market right now, right? These Japanese animation things don't exist in any English form, no English translation. So, we theoretically we should be not affecting any market at all, because obviously the Japanese think that, well, this isn't going to be worth any money. But obviously, as soon as somebody like AnimeEgo comes along and says, "Hey, we want to license this," then obviously they've done their homework. They've thought some logistics out. They figured out how many tapes you need, or laserdiscs or DVDs that you need to sell to make it break even. Then obviously this is going to be obviously an issue, right? So you're gonna have to make sure that we don't cross this line on this number 4. And so obviously selling fan subs for dollar value is obviously crossing this line, right? Not able to or continuing to distribute fan subs of something that's licensed is obviously stepping over the line. And so that's, to the best what we can do as a fan subber, we can prevent this one. Okay, the other two we can't do anything about, because we obviously are crossing the line on those ones. So really, the best thing that we can do is go 2 for 2, and just basically hopefully everyone kind of sweeps this under the carpet, and no litigation or anything happens, because obviously that's not what we want to happen, right? Because obviously we're on the losing side of the battle if such a thing ever happens, right? So to prevent that, we just sort of got this sort of thing. So basically those are the sort of the principles of how the fair use and how the rules would come along. And basically this is how we sort of created. Again, no one sort of wrote this up. No one sort of posted an FAQ and saying, okay, if you're a fan subber, do this and you gotta sign this or something. No one's ever done anything like that. Okay, so much so that this list or whatever I sometimes relate it to the unwritten rules of baseball, right? There's a whole list of things that, quote, baseball players kind of abide by or know the rules of, and they kind of play that way. And if someone's, if it's not written in the player's manual, the umpires are not going to, flag or wave someone down for these particular rules. They just sort of know how that goes. And I think maybe hockey is probably another one that has some rules like that, where hey, if you body check the lead scorer like Wayne Gretzky, then we're going to send the bruiser out there to smash you into the boards on the next play, that kind of thing, right? And that's an accepted rule. Or in baseball, okay, you throw a pitch at our cleanup hitter, then on the next time you go up to bat, we'll throw a ball at your head. Okay, things like that, right? Just see, these are sort of unwritten rules that are in there, and they'll never be written in the rule books. But some players will follow by them, and that's how the rule is. And these Fansubbing rules are much more the same. No one's written them down. No one's really put them etched in stone or anything, but they're understood that these are some rules that need to be followed if you are going to be a fansubber. Okay, and then I'll do an episode later on how these rules broke down, and basically how modern fansubbers no longer apply them, and how basically and how even modern fansubs are now totally ignoring all these rules, and how the corruption of them happens. But I'll do those in future episodes. Okay, so let's just go over some of the rules that were sort of arranged, and then we'll kind of go over from there. Okay, so the first rule is basically is the fact that the fansubs are designed to be a supplement to the actual show, right? The show is the star. The fansubs are just to help you get through the show. So when the amount of it's not supposed to be designed to be a resume or a display of how well you can typeset, or what fonts you want to use, and how much fancy graphics you want to throw everywhere. That's not part of what the thing is, right? It's just basically, we just want to show you enough information, and then you to follow and understand the anime, and that's it. Okay, the anime is still the star, not your fansubs. Okay, not the titling. Okay, not your editing expertise. Okay, just get on with it. Just let it go. Right. On what? Rule number 2 is probably one of the most important one, is the legal copies, right? We want to basically be able to say, okay, hey, when a commercial version comes out, we want you to go and buy the commercial version, right? Don't, we want to get rid of the fansubs, and you stick to the commercial version, because again, we want to support them as well, because they're trying to do this legit. And they're going to give you the better copy anyway than we does, because again, remember, we're making copies of copies. We can only give you a second generation copy off of our fansubs anyway. So why bother when the commercial version can give you basically the best copy, whatever, zero generation copy, if you will, of it, right? So go with theirs, right? And so we've agreed that when something like that commercially comes out, we will remove the distribution of our fansubs, and will no longer distribute it anymore. And then people then hopefully will go out and buy their copies. All right. Rule number 3 is that we're strictly non-profit. Like, we're not in it to make a buck. Okay. I mean, a lot of people make the understanding that hey, if you're going to ask for a fansub, you can either send your own blank tape and then enough postage to send that tape back to you. Usually it's like $5-6 at that in that day. $5 or $6 could take a single blank tape and send it back to you, or you could charge the person for the cassette tape as well, and then they can buy a brand new cassette tape, which is around $5 or so, at most of the electronic stores and that kind of stuff. And you could do it. So basically, for like $10, $11, $12 maybe, you can get a tape. You get the postage to send that tape back, and that was sort of the accepted norm. Okay, now when people start charging like $20 and that kind of stuff, or you go to San Diego Comic-Con and you see that the shady guy selling these questionable unlabeled tapes for $20 a tape, then okay, that guy's probably getting some extra cash there off the backs of the fans. That leads to basically rule number 4, which is basically we were trying to make it clear that this is not a commercial copy. This is a fan sub version that you're supposed to be getting for free, not for profit use or anything like that. Okay, so we've done things like put in fan sub version, not for sale, not for rental, so people don't put it on the shelf and try to rent the copies. People don't try to sell these at Comic-Con, because then if you do that, then people might buy a copy and then they find out, hey, wait a minute, I could have got this for free, man, gee, what the hell, and things like that, and then hopefully they'll not buy them anymore from shady guys at Comic-Con. But things like that, we obviously tried our best to try to at least put them in there so that they couldn't be edited out easily anyway, and try to make it clear and known to the fact that this is a fan-made production. We're not supposed to be making any money off this, so we're trying to make it clear that we're not breaking rule number 4 here. Okay, we're trying everything we can to make it clear to the official people, whether or not it's the Japanese people or whether or not it's the U.S. licensors. Probably more the U.S. licensors, because they said they were probably more concerned about getting sued on the U.S. side, right? This is a non-profit sort of thing that we're trying to get to. We're not trying to affect your bottom line, your profitability. Okay, so those are the 4 sort of main pinnacle parts of the code of conduct, if you will. Some people call it the unwritten rules of fan subbing. And so in the VHS era of fan subbing, these were fairly well adhered. I mean, it said of the majority of the fan subbers, they did follow this. And sure, there was a couple of outliers, okay, but for the most part, we did a pretty good job, and I don't think any major U.S. company had to sue anybody, or anything to major numbers of people, anyway, shall we say. And so that's how the industry got started. And well, now of course this changed as soon as the advent of digital subbing and that stuff came in. And we'll go get that into that in another episode, because that's another big ball of wax. All right, so I hope you found this sort of interesting, and I hope you've got some clarity of this word and this mystery of what the code of conduct or the unwritten rules of fan subbing are. And we'll apply those to the next episodes when we talk about what happened to them and what has happened to the state of fan subbing as it is, or what people do with fan subs now. Okay, so until next time, see you again.